What's up guys, my name is Khan and we're back today in Scrap Mechanic, and we're back with an exciting update to the mod pack. Now I know this update has actually been out for a little bit and there's been another recent update to the mod pack with a few new blocks. If you guys didn't already know, Brent Batch has joined Durf in working on the mod pack as well as a few other guys, and I know they've been working hard on making some extra logic stuff, and they've actually added a series of different logic parts to the mod pack. We're only going to look at a few of the blocks today. There's actually a lot of different blocks in the mod pack now. There's the mini spud guns, as we've seen before. There's also stuff like the smart sensor, which is a sensor here that outputs just your distance instead of, you know, giving it a distance and outputting an on or off signal. This sensor actually outputs what distance you are at to it, so that's kind of cool with just a number block there. We've also got this block here in my hand, which is the counter block. Lets you count up and down really simply by clicking buttons. So that's super useful. Allows you to store different number positions. Obviously a lot easier to deal with if you want to do letters and numbers, that sort of thing. Then we've also got the math block here, which lets you do different math functions, and we'll take a look at that as well. And then we've also got the number block here, which basically lets you output numbers. And then this block here is an exometer, which we'll take a look at that in a bit. Now, there are many other blocks in this mod pack. There's tons of cool stuff that you can do with it. For example, we can make a device right here just with some of these modded parts. And, you know, if we turn this device on, you can see it's pumping. And in fact, this gives us low gravity on the entire world. So really cool, and you know, if that's not powerful enough, we can actually just, you know, that was only 1/10. Let's crank this to, I don't know, 1/40th, maybe 1/50th gravity. So let's see when we jump now. Oh, we still don't jump that much higher. We don't have a lot. It's just gonna take us a while to fall. It's all about the colors you paint stuff, and we'll look at that in a second, but you know, let's just crank this up to 100. And perfect, there we go, 1/100th gravity, and you know, we jump a little bit higher. But, I mean, it's not really, it's just really the floating time down that just takes forever. Look at this, This is like, this is low gravity, but we can still move very quickly forward despite the fact that we're falling extremely slowly. We'll just shut, there we go, normal gravity. Fantastic. And that's a world gravity manipulator, really cool. And again, we can control how much it is just with a few of these simple counter blocks, number blocks, and math blocks. So let's just take a look at how some of these things work, and hopefully you guys will have a few ideas. I know I have a ton of ideas on how we can use this. Really, what adding number blocks does in logic is it really kind of eliminates a lot of the logic gates that you use. With binary logic, you can basically do whatever you want, but binary logic takes a lot of space and takes a lot of gates just to do really simple things. And we'll take a look at that. For example, this is a counter, right? A simple binary counter would take a lot of space. Number one, you need a bit for every individual position. One bit only gives you 2 numbers. This counter, I don't think there's a limit. Like, you could count to 1,000 on this if you click 1,000 times. And so we've got these buttons here. These are kind of special buttons. They're actually just single tick buttons. So as you guys might know, whenever you're playing with logic, a lot of the time we set up these little exclusive OR gate systems, you know, like this, where you have 2 signals coming in and you send them for a single sort of pulse. So now if we hit this button here, you'll see that exclusive OR gate, it only flicks once. You can see that, and of course we could have another gate so it only flicks when we press the button. But that's basically a tick generator. But instead of having to set up this system with logic, you can actually use one of these tick buttons. And so every time we hit it, it'll only send 1 pulse of logic, which is super convenient. That way you don't have to have all these tick generators everywhere. But this sends 1 pulse to the counter block, which is this block here, which is just, you know, simply hooked in, and that's hooked into a display. And then, of course, this second input that we hook in counts down. So that's kind of cool. We can go into negative numbers, no problem. And now you'll be like, well, it's only displaying, like, what happened? Why is it positive again? Well, actually, this is only the ones digits. So the colors here that you paint make a difference. So if we paint it orange here, that's the ones place. This is the tens place. So you can see we're actually at -30 something. And if we hook up another logic block here, you can see we're actually at -30, -31, -32, and so on and so forth with another one of these number blocks. So super convenient, and you know, we just paint them different colors. So this would be like 1, 10, 100, 1,000, so on and so forth. And then this top row of colors is actually for decimals. So if you want to get into decimals, only really when you get into math blocks and to a few other things, the counter block only counts in ones. So when you hit it, it's always giving it 1 per tick, it seems. And then, of course, we've got a counter block here, same thing, but if you paint a button white, it resets it, which is kind of cool. So, of course, what you can do with that, well, you can do math, because, you know, when everyone has logic, the first thing they want to do is go, hey, let's make a calculator, right? Let's do some math, because, you know, why not? Math is fun, right? Everybody loves math. It's great. So we can hook up a math block here. This is a math block in the middle, pretty simple stuff. You place it down. It's got a lot of different functions. You press E and it kind of changes the function. They've got these little pictures that'll change. And you'll see on the pictures, there's a white dot and a black dot, and that's what these two number things here are. So these are two counters. They're just hooked up into little displays next to them, same as the counters over there. And the white counter feeds in, the black counter feeds in, and the math function will execute them in that way. So whatever numbers you're feeding into the counter will just, do that kind of math based on the colors. So and then again, we can change this, and as we change this, you can see it's live updating. And I've just painted this display, so it's 3 numbers and then 3 decimal places. So 3 digits and 3 decimals. So, this is 30 divided by 5 is 6. 30 divided by 6 is 5. 30 divided by 7 is apparently 4.285. I don't know. Okay, sure. You see, this is another math block, so this is just a random number generator, and we've got that hooked up. And it's actually just generating a random number between 0 and 1, so we're just showing the 4 decimal places. So it's really interesting, the stuff that you can do with this logic. Now, I don't want to go into too much detail. I mean, just kind of give you guys an idea. This is just some really simple setups that I did. Again, there's a lot that you can do with this math block. I mean, if we look at it, there is a ton of different functions. And then there's also, other blocks as well. There's the Ascii blocks here, which are really, really cool. So they actually will take a number input and they'll display a specific letter. If we take this Ascii block, for example, and we hook it into a counter. So let's just clear this counter. This one's good. And we hook this Ascii block in, and we can actually hook it into this. And you can see as we count, we're actually going through different number positions. So we can actually display letters as well. You can see, so L is 22. M, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V. So really, really cool stuff. Really going to be awesome for making displays. Stuff like, the potato internet. If you do it with this logic, it would be a lot smaller. You'd still have to shoot, like, a bunch of potatoes. You'd have to convert 60 into a binary signal to still shoot it, because potatoes are technically binary. But, we could have a whole numbering system with a keyboard and a proper digital display and all that, just using these simple Ascii blocks. So it's really, really cool. Really, really excited, and I hope you guys are too, and I'm really curious to hear what you guys think. So let me know in the comments down below what you think we should do with these new logic blocks. So there's also this little meter over here, but before we get into that, I just wanted to look at memory for a second. So they've got this memory block here, which is really, really cool, and this isn't like binary memory. This is more like memory indexing. So one thing that you can do with this, which is kind of nice, is we can feed it a white number block, which is the number input here, and you can see if we actually step this up, you'll see it changes the number that's being displayed there on the memory, but we can actually store this to, let's say, 1, and then we can set this as a number here. So let's count this one up. For some reason, these buttons are reversed. Let's say number 13, and we can press this orange button, and we've now stored the number 13 in memory position 1. And then if we count up to memory position 2, you can see this changes to a 0, 0, because there's no numbers stored in position 2. So we can change this. Let's count this to, let's say, like, I don't know, 8, 6, boom. We've just stored 6 now in memory position 2. And if we go back to memory position 1, it's still got 13 there. So really, really powerful. We can then, of course, have this memory thing hooked into other things that we need to do with numbers. So again, number logic, memory logic. This basically allows us to store a ton of different things. I'm not sure. I think there's unlimited indexes. I think I can keep counting, even though like up to 100, 1,000. I don't think it matters. I'm not exactly sure about that. I'm sure Brent or Durf will correct me on that one. But really, really powerful what we can do with this. We can make really big logic creations, like creations that have a lot of logic power in a very small area, just using these number blocks and these math blocks. And now a lot of things that would be a lot more complicated, for example, comparing two numbers, you can do that with the math block, right? We can have a greater than, less than situation. We can easily do all that within this one block here. You can see all the greater than, less than, all that sort of thing. So it's really, really, really powerful. And I encourage you guys, if you do have any ideas, let me know in the comments down below. I'm definitely excited to make a few things with these. But of course, before we end this episode, I do want to look at one more block, just because I feel like with the number block, this block is really what makes it super, super powerful. And that's this meter here. And this is the XO meter. And it is a really, really cool thing. So we've tried making speedometers before and accelerometers, and they're really not as good as this meter here. This is a scripted meter. So it measures just about anything you want it to. It measures speed. It measures, I don't know what does meter measure? I don't know what that is, but it measures meter, whatever that is. It measures rotation, which I'm thinking now is a gyroscope, and I actually use the Intelligentsia mod to use a gyroscope for this, but I mean, either would work. I'm just used to the Intelligentsia mod gyroscope. I like the way it works. And then we've got velocity, which is obviously, you know, your speed. Wait, I'm confused. Why would there be a velocity and speed? Velocity is basically speed with a direction. Velocity, maybe it matters which direction this thing is facing in. What happens if we have velocity on this top direction? Does that change anything? No, it doesn't. Okay, I don't know what the difference is. But anyways, velocity, rotation, and then meter. And then, of course, we've got X and Y position as well as altitude. So what that means is we can actually make GPS creations. So you can see here we've got an X position, a Y position, and those are actually related to the world itself. So if we take a look at this creation over here where we've basically got 4 meters hooked up. So we've got a compass, an X position, a Y position, and an altitude. And you can see we've actually got all those hooked in right here to these number displays. So we've got compass, X, Y, Z, so X, Y position, and then the altitude. So we're 7 blocks above whatever 0 is. We're at, 347 or 656 by 347, and we're at a degree of 180 degrees. Now, what you can actually do with this is crazy stuff now. So if we take this little bit of information here and we actually feed those, okay, this doesn't really help, but if we feed those numbers into some math blocks, we can actually have this entire sort of hovering platform get completely oriented based on the compass. So I believe it's going to try and line itself up with 0 degrees if we hit the 7 switch. And you can see there it's doing that now. It's rotating itself. So it's a little bit janky. It does use the Intelligentsia mod there. You can see for that gyro in the front right and those suspension glitches in the middle just kind of help keep it stable. But you can see there we're actually rotating slowly to the 0 degree marker. So the compass is hooked into those math blocks. The math blocks say if it's greater than 0 or it's less than 0, I got to rotate. And the compass actually goes between 180 degrees and negative 180 degrees. So it works really, really well. If it's in the one direction, it'll rotate to the right. If it's in the other direction, it'll rotate to the left. And that way it always tries to line itself up with 0 degrees. And you can see we're actually at X 667 by Y 349, Z 180, 190. We're slowly just gaining height here. But you can see we can do a lot of cool stuff here. So for example, if we want to remake the sky base, we can actually measure the height of the altitude. We can obviously do that with the Intelligentsia mod. Now the Intelligentsia mod height is a little bit different. It's sort of like an on or off system. So if you're at a certain height, it'll say, here's the height you're at, and you're either there or you're not there. Whereas this is sort of telling you this is the number of the height you're at, if that makes any sense. So it's really like measuring it versus a sensor to detect what height you're at. You can see there now it rotates in the other direction, and eventually it should line it. I mean, it's not really perfect. It's kind of janky. We should really have a tolerance like less than 1 degree and more than 1, but instead it's just, 0 and 0. So it's really trying to be perfect. But regardless, really cool stuff we can do there. And actually, yeah, it's always going to be perfect because it's technically 0 with like a ton of decimals. So we should really put a tolerance on that. And then, of course, we can hit like, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and just sort of move around here. Oh, this is just, it gets really janky now. My first thought, of course, for this is autopilot stuff. Obviously, this is not a very good platform for autopilot. It's just sort of a good demo platform just to see all those different numbers. But I think, you could do some crazy autopilot stuff, obviously with XY coordinates. I don't know how big the map is total. I think it's like 3,000 or something. Like in wonder, like negative 3,000, a positive 3,000. I'm not really sure, to be perfectly honest. Or maybe it's 3,000 total. But regardless, we could do autopilot systems. We could also do guided systems, like say, hey, go to this specific coordinate. So of course, I would like to hear, let me know in the comments down below what you think. I really want to just show you guys some of the new stuff that we can do with the mod pack and really, encourage you guys to think a little bit about how we can use these numbers and this new logic system to just make a little bit, more powerful creations. Obviously, building AI has always been a lot of fun, and building really simple AI has always been great, but we can now make really simple compact AI with just a few different blocks. And with the memory block combined with all these different number blocks and the math block, there's definitely a lot of cool things that we can do and really push the boundaries of scrap mechanics. So I'm really excited to hear what you guys think, and of course, let me know in the comments down below. Yeah, see, negative 3,000 almost. We're gonna be like negative 3,000 when we hit this fence. So I think it's like negative 3,000 or negative 25. Is it like some weird number that no one knows about? What is it? It's negative 28, like negative 2806 to the middle. So it's gonna be like negative 2815. That's so weird. Like, what kind of a number is that? So basically almost negative 3,000, but negative 2,800 to positive 2,800. So of course, let me know what you think of this mod pack in the comments down below. I'm really excited for this new update. They do have other stuff as well. Like I said, there's explosives, there's those gravity blocks, there's all sorts of different things that we can play around with. But really the main thing I'm excited for is just to play around with the number logic and make some GPS guided things. I think the whole concept of doing X and Y GPS really is just going to open up a lot of the different things you can do, especially when it comes to automation and, mapping out different coordinates. There's also radar tracking that they've got built in as well, and really going to allow us to make all sorts of different creations. So Let me know in the comments down below. And while you're at it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll see y'all next time.